Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, I can probably help with this. But anyway, I'm Doreen Welsh, and I'm from the Guidance Department. Welcome, and thanks for your patience. Mrs. Barker is here. She's trying to study her nerves right now. She had an accident on Route 1, so, we're just glad she's okay, and she made it in. But anyway, I know you're here anxious to hear all about money and how you're going to pay for all these colleges and what it's going to cost you and all. So we have one of the best people, one of the best experts around who's going to fill you in on all the good stuff with your FAFSA, with the higher education, with scholarships, with loans, and all that other thing. So she's got some handouts here too later that we can pass out to you too. So without further ado, Mrs. Barker.
Hello, please pardon my shakiness for the beginning of this. My name is Jamila Barker. I work for the New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority. I'm going to stand to the side so that you guys can see the board. So, moving forward, where the mission of HESA, New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, is basically we're the state authority with the sole mission to provide students and families with the financial information resources needed to pursue their education. Tonight we're going to discuss the goals of financial aid. Financial aid is the primary goal to assist students in terms of paying for college, and that's achieved basically by what's aligned. Evaluating families' ability to pay for college. We're going to discuss the FAFSA form. That's the vehicle, one of the vehicles that are used. Distributing limited resources in an equitable manner. That's by federal, state regulations. And providing a balance of gift aid and self-aid. We'll discuss the difference between gift aid and self-aid. And implement federal and state regulations for the colleges. So, what are some of the help sources? There's federal financial aid, there's state financial aid, institutional financial aid, as well as the outside organizations. In the grouping of the types of financial aid, with all of that, you have grants, you don't pay grants back. Scholarships are mostly merit, and loans, you have to repay those. Employment opportunities, they call them work study, okay? Where the student is on campus, and they'll work on campus based on the information that's derived from the FAFSA form. And basically, they'll receive a paycheck. It's a safe environment for you to work in. The net price calculator, all institutions have this, or they're mandated to have this on their website. And you'll put information in, they have to put the information about their college. How much is the average tuition? What are the scholarship information is like? So you'll put in a couple of figures from there, and it should be able to tell you basically how much, it will cost in terms of going to that college or university. Types of financial aid. The federal. There's the federal, this is, when we talk federal financial aid, it goes year by year. So right now I can only discuss, of course, the 15-16 financial aid year, which is this coming fall and this coming spring. Is everyone, students, they're seniors? Yes? Okay. So, I'm sorry?
This fall, not this coming fall. This fall and then upcoming.
Yeah, the fall that's coming, yes, this fall and spring. So, the Pell Grant, there's a maximum award, and we look at it on a yearly basis. So this year, the maximum award that a student can receive is $5,775. The Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, $4,000 the maximum, and the Teach Grant. That's the 3726 maximum. When we talk grants, the TEACH grant is a little different because in the beginning I said that grants you don't pay back. Well, the TEACH grant, that's for students that know that they know that they know they want to go into the teaching field, because the grant is given yearly, but if the student does not reach the qualifications, the requirements, if they don't go into teaching, if they decide to change their major, well, that grant that they received turns into a loan, all right? And interest, they will accumulate as the date that they receive that grant. So that's why I say only if the student knows that they're sure, absolutely sure that they're going to become an educator, would I suggest anyone take out a TEACH grant. Now we have the state aid. We just talked about federal. Here's the state. The New Jersey Tuition Aid Grant. There's maximums on that. You'll see that there's a full-time and a part-time tag grant. This is New Jersey money that the governor approves that we give out on a yearly basis. So, tuition aid grant. This is for the 16-17 academic year because we come up with the actual calculators and get it approved by the governor. So, you have to demonstrate financial need, meaning for any financial aid, you have to complete your FAFSA form on a yearly basis. You have to be a New Jersey resident. That's what's different from federal to state. In order to receive state money, state funds, you have to be a New Jersey resident for at least the last 12 consecutive months, both student and parents. So you have to live in the state of New Jersey in order to receive. So if you're eligible, if you meet all the criteria, but you move prior to the start of the school year, then that would knock you out, all right, from New Jersey. Of course, you must have be full-time. That's for anything that's for state. For state, in order to receive the full-time tag, you have to be in a 4-year university. So, full-time, 12 credits. You can't go below full-time at a 4-year university and receive the tuition aid grant. However, if you go to a 2-year college, then they have a part-time tag grant. So 2-year, you can even go part-time, 6 credits or less, or you can go full-time. All right? And there's different tables for that. I'll answer the question, but then what I'm going to try to do is get through it first and then answer the questions, because what I've found is that some people don't want to stay while we're answering and asking questions. But yes, ma'am.
Do you have to go to a New Jersey school?
You have to attend a New Jersey school in order to be eligible for New Jersey funds. Okay? The state also has the Equal Educational Opportunity Fund, EOF. Has anyone heard of EOF? Some schools call it EOP. All right? So what happens is the student applies for EOF. They apply for the school, they complete the FAFSA, but they also have to fill out an EOF application with the EOF department. You also let the school know, yes, I want to see if I can be qualified for the EOF program. So the awards can range from $200 to $2,500 annually. Okay? Everything adjusts to the cost of the college, the type of college that you go to, because we try to make it proportionate based on the tuition and fees. And then there's the Governor's Urban Scholarship. You have to rank at the top 5% at the end of your junior year. So if your students, if you don't know the actual class ranking, then I would suggest you find that out The guidance counselors, they advise us of the rankings. So you have to attain, once you move on, right, at the end of your junior year, you have to have at least a 3.0 GPA and attend an approved New Jersey college or university in the designated community. So I have pamphlets here. So for everything that I'm speaking of, I have the pamphlets here for you to look at in depth. When you complete your FAFSA, at the end, you get an estimated family contribution. And it gives you a number. It's a number to say what, through completing your FAFSA, what the formula believes is the reasonable amount that a family can afford to pay towards college. So you have to have a New Jersey eligibility index below 10,500. New Jersey has the New Jersey STARS program. How about this one? Has anyone heard about this? Oh, yes. So what happens, New Jersey STARS, the student is if they're in the top 15% at the end of the junior year, okay? They may be eligible to attend the local county college for tuition free. Now notice I said local county college, so that means that you're attending a school in New Jersey, but it has to be the local county college, all right, for tuition free. And you must obtain a 3.0 grade point average, and you have to be full-time. Now, once you graduate in 5 semesters from the county college for New Jersey STARS, there's a step up called New Jersey STARS 2. And that's when a student is eligible to go to a 4-year college or university. But there's no longer tuition free. It now becomes a grant. Okay, so it's still to help out. However, when you graduate that county college in no more than 5 semesters, you have to come out with at least a 3.25 grade point average, okay, to be eligible. And you have to be full-time. The Governor's and Industry Vocational Scholarship for Women and Minorities. Okay, so I have a pamphlet for that one as well, but up to $2,000 per year for the cost of, there's 19 county colleges. With that, it benefits women and minorities. So the difference between the other financial aid that I discussed for federal and state, this is for people pursuing certificate or degrees in construction. Okay, for the other state and federal aid, certificates didn't go towards, only a small amount of certificates would you be able to receive financial aid for. But for people that's actually going into degree programs for construction or certificate programs, you may be eligible for that. You must file the FAFSA. The last bullet point gives you an example of some of the programs that's eligible for the scholarship. So construction, supervision, solar energy technology, things of that nature. Then you may be eligible for that grant for women and minorities. What happens? So you received your financial aid and you notice that there's still money that you need, right? There's money that you need to pay towards college. Well, the first thing that we say is once you look at all of the financial aid, the grants and the scholarships that you receive, if you still need additional monies, and I'm sorry, you also looked at the outside scholarships that's out there, then the next thing, don't go straight to loans. Find out if there's a payment option at the school. Maybe you can break it up into 3 separate payments for the month if you can afford that. So try to get on a payment plan. So, because that's always better than taking out a loan where the interest is going to accrue, but it's a family decision, so it's whatever you can afford. So, we say try to go for that payment plan. New Jersey has a Perkins loan, 5% interest rate, and we have, and the federal government, Perkins is federal, and the federal direct program, that's there. The federal direct loan program is a loan taken out in the student's name, okay? And there are yearly limits for that. They're not checking students' credit, okay? So long as the student has completed their FAFSA, they're enrolled in a degree granting approved university, institution, 2-year college, however you want to look at it. Then if they complete, there's an entrance interview, things of that nature. Once they complete that, then they can be eligible for a federal direct loan. There's 2 parts to a federal direct loan. I'm sorry, you guys feeling lonely? Do you want me to come walk over here? So there's 2 types of federal direct loans. We have the subsidized. With the subsidized, the federal government pays the interest while the student is in school. Then there's the unsubsidized. The unsubsidized loan, the student is responsible for paying interest while they're in school. However, they can choose to defer it, or they can choose to pay the interest while they're in school. Or you can always just pay the loan right off. There's no penalty, okay? If money comes, there's no penalty in paying off the loans earlier. And these are some of the interest rates for the federal direct loan. Let me just toggle back up. Remember I said that there are limits. There are yearly limits to the federal direct loan, and there's an aggregate overall limit to the federal direct loans. So as a freshman, you come in, you need a loan. If it's determined by your FAFSA form that there is need, and we'll discuss need, but if it's determined that there's need, then the student will be eligible for up to $3,500 in subsidized if they have $3,500 in need, where the formula determines. Okay? So then the unsubsidized, the student can have the $3,500 a sub, but they also can take out $2,000 additionally in unsub. So the total of a freshman, $5,500 in total. And then it increases. So when the student becomes a sophomore, then they can receive $4,500 plus the $2,000 and up. In total, throughout the career of college, I believe it's just gone up to $27,000 in total, the aggregate limit.
Is this in addition to the Stafford?
This is the Stafford loan. The federal government took over all student loans. So yes, when I was in school, we had the federal Stafford loans where we took out the money through banks. Okay, banks. Now the federal government is the lender. So all of the money is coming from the federal government. All right. The New Jersey class loan. New Jersey has its own loan. All right, and it's very competitive rates, and the rates vary based on the repayment option that you choose. So, a student can be a New Jersey resident, but go to school outside of New Jersey, and they're still eligible. But private loans are different from federal loans. Federal loans, remember I said they're not running credit, they're not checking income. When you move away from federal loans and you go into private loans, or as we call our New Jersey class, a supplemental loan, then credit will be run. All right? And so there's always a minimum credit score and a minimum income level. Right now with the New Jersey class, students have to be the borrower on the loans. And then there can be co-borrowers, co-signers, any range in that to make up for the requirements, but it has to be in the student's name. You can apply for a New Jersey class right directly off of our website, the www.njclass.org. All right? So, like it says, it's a fixed rate loan. It varies the repayment terms. It varies from year to year based on the type of bonds that we're able to get. As I stated, we're a very competitive loan program. As federal, there is a federal Parent Plus loan, okay, where parents would take out. Only the parent can take that loan out, and credit will be run as well for that. And these are the actual, is that a 6.84% interest rate? And there's an origination fee of 4.272. Okay? For New Jersey class, the origination fee, if you're choosing to pay the loan off immediately, there's no origination fee for that repayment option. Then we have the institutional and private scholarships, merit-based financial aid. So it could be anything. It could be based off academics, the SAT scores, the ACT scores, athletics, the GPA, the cumulative average of a student, things of that nature, talent, class rank, different things like that. So that's where the institution comes in. One part that's not considered a merit-based, that's institutional, is a need-based scholarship from the school. Schools will look at the information, your FAFSA information, and if they have the scholarships, then there are need-based scholarships with the school. We talked about the aid. Now how do you get it? Well, you have to complete the FAFSA form. And so on the right is the FAFSA form. It's the website where you go on, because the FAFSA is strictly online. You go online to complete the FAFSA form. On the left, you notice that there's a student, collegeboard.org, FAFSA. You can also go on there to apply for financial aid. But that's the CSS profile, and we'll show you that, because there is the FAFSA, which all schools require, but there's also something called the CSS program, the CSS profile, where there's roughly, maybe 400 or so schools that require it. But here it is right here. The CSS profile. The schools are looking more in depth with the income. They're looking more towards assets. On the FAFSA, you're never going to be asked how much you have as an asset in your residential home. Okay, the FAFSA doesn't want to know that. But CSS profiles, they're looking at all of that information, all of the income information coming into your household. They want to know exactly what you have. And that's a separate formula for them to determine your financial aid with any endowment funds or anything like that. It's available every October 1st of each year. So the schools will let you know, or when you go onto the websites of the schools that you're interested in, find out if you need a CSS profile. The FAFSA is free. However, the CSS profile for the first one, which for one school is $25. Each additional CSS profile that you have to complete is now $16 a piece. Okay, so go onto the websites, find out whether or not the CSS profile is required for that institution. So this is where you will go to this website to complete your profile with that. And that's their customer service number. So the application for completing the FAFSA, I believe that is actually on here. Did anyone want to, I noticed people are taking photos of some of the slides. Did you want me to double back so that you could take a picture of that slide?
So, a quick question. So is FAFSA more prevalent or the CSS profile more used?
I'm about to go into the FAFSA. All right, now that'll be answered. Okay, so like I stated, the FAFSA, you have to complete that for schools to determine your state eligibility, your federal eligibility. Even if, let's say that you complete the FAFSA or you believe that you're not going to receive any money from financial aid, in order to receive student loans, if that's the need, in order to receive student loans, you have to complete the FAFSA. Some institutions, in order to receive their funds, you have to complete the FAFSA. So that's all schools. Only select schools ask for the CSS profile. Okay? So know that you're going to have to complete the FAFSA. The CSS profile depends on which school, all right, the child is attending. And that's for additional money. The CSS profile is determined for additional monies other than the FAFSAs. All right? And to maximize, so the FAFSA application online, www.fafsa.gov, you go online. It's an online, you sign the FAFSA online. I believe the next slide I'm going to talk to you about how you file the FAFSA. But it's important that when you file the FAFSA that you're as accurate as possible. I'll tell you a situation where there's just chances where you can't be, but you want to complete the FAFSA so that there's no holdup with you trying to realize how much you would be eligible for financial aid. Because when you complete your FAFSA and you put all of your information in, the schools are going to come back to you that you applied for because you're going to list schools on your FAFSA. They're going to come back to you and tell you how much you may be eligible for in financial aid. Well, if you messed up on your figures, you didn't do your figures right, then the awards that they're giving you are based off of those figures. So when you come back in and correct your FAFSA, your financial aid may change. It could be higher or it can be lower. So I suggested that there is an instance where you won't have the exact information. The FAFSA comes out every January 1st for you to complete. Some schools, they have FAFSA deadlines. So, the deadline for you having to complete your FAFSA, first come, first serve. So, institutional monies or things of that nature, if you meet the deadline, you're insured to get whatever the funds are that you're eligible for. So you will want to meet the FAFSA deadline, February 15th. That's the earliest school. That's their FAFSA deadline. But you haven't filed your income taxes yet. Well, then I would suggest, and we would suggest, that you actually use W-2s to estimate. There's, when you're checking, it'll say will file, have filed, will not file. So if that's the case, what you're doing, you're going to say will file so that everyone knows that those are estimated figures. If you made about the same amount last year, the following from 2014, then 2015, then you can use those figures. But as soon as you complete your taxes, you have to go back online and correct the figures. So remember, Jamila told you that if you're using estimated, you're going to get one financial aid package. When you go in to complete it, remember there's going to be another package that's coming. So don't bank everything on an estimated FAFSA. On the FAFSA, it's not required for a student to list their sex. But it helps in terms of financial aid because that's a question that's going to be that you have to answer in order to determine, because males, to receive financial aid, you have to have registered for selective services. Females, no. Okay? So that's something that's going to hold a student up. If you click male, then the question will come down, have you registered for selective services? If the child is not 18 yet, you can say, register me. And then on the 18th birthday, the child will be registered. If you click female, of course, that's not a question that's going to appear for you. And also on the FAFSA, you don't have to put your driver's license number, but just to let you know, for state funds, we're going to ask whether or not, for your driver's license information, so you might as well just put that in to the FAFSA. The FAFSA, what does it collect? All of the family's income information and demographics, how many people are in the household, how many people in the household are going to college. It even asks the age of the oldest parent, because the mindset behind it is the closer a parent is to retirement, the less money that they will have to contribute towards the education. Okay? So don't be afraid to tell your age, okay? This is not the time to do that. So, it's online. The FAFSA is going to give you your estimated family contribution. Remember I said that that's basically what they're saying, a reasonable amount that a family should be able to pay for college. That is not an exact amount. So if you see 10,000, let's go to that 10,500 EFC. That does not mean that you're going to have to pay 10,500 towards the education, okay? That's just on our table, or on the federal government's table, to try to figure out how much you're eligible for. But it does not necessarily mean that that's how much you're going to actually pay. It could be lower. Okay, it could be lower, or it could be that. But I already spoke to you guys about the estimated income going in. The greatest thing that happened, I want to say 2 years ago, is the IRS data retrieval tool. And when you're completing your FAFSA, you can give permission to link to the IRS website so that they can extract the information. Some of the information on the FAFSA, they can actually extract that from your income tax returns. You have to have already filed, of course. And in order to, of course, receive it, it has to be in the IRS database. Married filing separate, you're not going to be able to use the IRS data retrieval, because the IRS is not going to go into each parent and try to combine the incomes. But if you're married filing joint, or if you're head of household, single, then you'll be able to extract that information. You just, when you're completing the FAFSA, there's a point where you give the approval. You don't have to. It just makes the steps a little easier. You don't have to answer so many questions. So, the FAFSA website, www.fafsaed.gov, or you can go straight to FAFSA.gov to complete the FAFSA. Student and parent. Student and at least one parent has to create a federal student aid ID. It's called the FSA ID. That's just the acronym that we use. And you will go to fsaid.ed.gov.
Is that one ID for both or one for each?
a student needs one and one parent needs one. Okay? That's new. So everyone's trying to figure out that thing. This year, it's the first year that people actually had to do it. Some of you may remember a PIN, a 4-digit PIN number. Well, that'll help you when you're creating your FSA ID. In order to enhance security, that's basically why they did it. You're going to have to create a more in-depth profile. You're going to have to create a user ID. You're going to have to create a password in order. It's going to ask you, your demographic information, and it's also going to ask you certain security questions. If I'm not mistaken, there's 2 security questions that they provide for you. But then there's 2 security questions that you have to make up. Okay? So it's unique to every individual. And you don't necessarily you have your PIN number, that's fine, but you don't need a PIN number to create the FSA ID. So the student, you keep it. The one parent, you use it every year because the FAFSA is a form that you have to complete on a yearly basis. How to create your FSA ID. You go onto the website. You create your user ID, your username and password. You enter your email address. And from there, so you want to make sure that you're giving an email address the one email address that you use. Because with anything, if there are any issues, you get locked out or anything like that, things need to be sent to your email, okay, to help you. You have to put in your date of birth. Remember I said demographic information? You have to make sure that you put that in and you review your information. You have to review the terms and conditions and accept them. Confirm your email address using a secure code, and it will go directly to your email to let you know that it's created. And you can go to studentaid.gov at fsaid.com. Eligibility requirements for receiving financial aid. Okay, this is federal financial aid, state financial aid. Just remember, state has a couple of tweaks to it. All right? But in order to complete the FAFSA, you must have a valid Social Security number. If a parent does not have a valid Social Security number, an undocumented person, you would put all zeros, all right, for a Social Security number. And you must enroll or be accepted in an eligible program of study. And you can find that out through every school if you go into the website. It's the Department of Education that determines if the schools are eligible. And you have to be pursuing the degree, certificate, other recognized credentials, and you must be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. That's why I say if you're undocumented, then you put all of the zeros in, and the schools will work with you on that. And for males, you must register for selective services. Demographics, your name, your address, Social Security number. And remember, for New Jersey residents, please answer the driver's license question. That's one way that we know whether or not you're a New Jersey resident. We're only asking that of the student. We're not asking the parents for their driver's license information. Students' income, parents' income. It's going to ask questions. Everything that the FAFSA asks for the student, then there's going to be the section that they ask for the parents. The student can come out to determine that the student can be an independent student or a dependent student. It's based on the questions from the FAFSA. So it's a dependency status section. And it's going to ask questions such as, are you 24 years or older? If you answer yes, you're an independent student and you do not need parental information on your FAFSA. Do you have any dependents, any children that you provide more than 51% income for? If you can answer that question and that's the truth, then you're an independent student. So there are different questions on the FAFSA that will let a student know whether or not they only need their information or student and parents' information. The FAFSA only wants biological parents' information. Okay, so if the student is living with grandma and has always lived with grandma, that student cannot put grandmother's information on the FAFSA. Biological parents. And the FAFSA will tell you, depending on the age of the child, whether or not they're looking for adoptive parents' information. There are instances where if the parent is married, but not married to the biological, let's say the biological mother is married. So the stepfather, of course, is not biological. Well, the FAFSA still wants to know his income. All right, or vice versa. So if a parent is married, then yes, they want the information. If parents are not married, but both biological parents live in the same home, then they have to provide both parents information. Household size. This is all very important in the formula because we need to know how many people in the household are sharing the pot of money, because that helps determine the estimated family contribution. Well, out of the members in the household, how many of those members are in college? Okay, now we're breaking up. Now people in the household, there's 4 people in the household. You're not just sharing, it's more than just paying for that one student. Now they're taking in consideration that there are 2 students that you have to put through college. So there's a federal means tested benefit. I apologize for talking so close into the mic just then. But there's a federal means tested benefits. So if you receive SSI, TANF, SNAP, free lunch, things like that, then you're put into a separate formula with the federal government. So if you receive any of those benefits, please mark it on the FAFSA, okay? Because that puts you in a separate formula. Only if you actually receive it, though, okay? On your FAFSA, you're going to list schools. You can list up to 10 schools. Hopefully by now, seniors, there's not a list of 10 schools that they're going to put down, but just in case, you can list 10 schools. We always say list the New Jersey school, a New Jersey school first, even if that's not necessarily the school that the student wants to attend, because New Jersey, we only look at the first school choice to determine how much the student would be eligible for New Jersey money if they're in New Jersey. We'll let you know. That could be the decision maker. Am I receiving $3,000 from New Jersey funds that will get me closer to paying? Or can I afford to send my child out of state and that $3,000 wouldn't affect us? So that's a very good tool to decide whether or not you can afford the particular college. I think it's next, so let me do this. It's not, but I'll show you. On the confirmation page of the FAFSA, New Jersey has a link so that you'll click into that and answer the additional state questions, additional New Jersey state questions. Our pot of money is smaller than the federal money. So there are additional questions that New Jersey is going to ask of you. For instance, New Jersey wants to know untaxed income. New Jersey wants to know unemployment benefits. Those are some of the questions that New Jersey is going to ask. So for dependent students that answered no to all of the dependency status questions for dependent students, there are going to be roughly 8 questions that's going to be asked, depending. If the student has already put on their FAFSA, their driver's license, then minus that question. So, and for independent student, there's 4 questions. So, that all varies. Common mistakes, I think along the line we've discussed a lot of this. But on your FAFSA, there's also, it's going to ask you for income information, but it's going to ask you for cash and savings. It's going to ask you for business, all right, for assets. Make sure that you answer that properly. And it's always as of the day that you file your FAFSA. All right, so if you're going to make a huge, purchase on Tuesday, fill your FAFSA out on Tuesday. Okay? I'm on video. Okay, so make sure you put the college level in properly, because financial aid, federal and state, you're only eligible for it if you're going towards your first bachelor's degree. So sometimes what students will do is they'll put, when we ask for grade level or for degree that you're going towards, they'll put professional or second bachelor's, or that they're going, towards their master's, and automatically that wipes them out of the equation. So now you have to go back and correct that answer so you can find out how much you're actually going to receive in financial aid. So let's cut it to the quick and answer the question. Make sure that we're really reading the questions. Student is going to ask, are you a first year, second year? It's going to ask you that. All incoming students, you're on your first year. What degree are you going towards? If you're going to a 4-year institution and you're going towards your bachelor's, you're going towards your first bachelor's. Okay? If you're going to a community college, there's going to be 2 answers that you can give. It says technical or general for 2-year school. Okay? You answer that. Please be very careful, because that depends, comes out to what your money, how much money you're going to receive. 0, you have to put zeros. Don't leave anything blank. Okay? If it's 0 for assets or 0 for cash and savings, put 0 down. You have to complete your FAFSA. You have to always, please, make sure that you put a New Jersey school as your first choice, unless, of course, you already know that you can afford whatever out-of-state college that you're going to, because it just may be that the student has an excellent scholarship where you know that that student is going to that school, or, paying the full rate. Then maybe not. But we always say just do it so that you can find out how much you would possibly be eligible for. Once you submit your FAFSA, then you'll also determine, the FAFSA is not going to indicate how much you're eligible for the schools. It's not going to let you know how much you're eligible for state money. Remember, when you complete your FAFSA, that's going to come out with your estimated family contribution. New Jersey, after we get the additional questions, we're going to determine your New Jersey eligibility index. So the FAFSA sends you a SAR, okay? New Jersey is going to send you a SIN. So the FAFSA is sending you all of the information that you put on your FAFSA to make sure that everything is correct. New Jersey is going to send you a form to tell you whether or not you're eligible for any New Jersey funds. And it's always gonna be for that first choice school. So let's say you have 2 New Jersey schools that you're not quite sure which one you're gonna go to. Remember, we're only looking at that first choice. So we'll tell you, but you decide to go to the second choice. You have to let New Jersey know that now you're going to that second choice. And we'll tell you how much you'll receive at that second school. Okay? Because first choice, that's the only place where money is going. So if you're changing the schools, you have to let New Jersey know to receive New Jersey funds, whatever you're eligible for. The confirmation page from the FAFSA, this is what it looks like. And on the right-hand side, you'll see this option. It says optional feature. Click here. Make sure you click there, because if you click there, it'll take you right into our website where you can answer the questions. If you don't do that, then you're going to have to wait for your FAFSA to be processed and then go in to answer those questions on your own onto our website. You notice on this confirmation page, it gives you your estimated family contribution. You see it down on the left-hand side. So that's how they'll let you know how much your estimated family contribution is. And it will tell you, it says you may be eligible to receive the following, may be. And it tells you how much in the federal Pell Grant and how much in the direct student loan that a student would be eligible for. It does not tell you how much in subsidized or unsub. It doesn't break that up, but it tells you how much in total you may be eligible for that year. The schools go by something called a cost of attendance. So it's not always direct costs. There are some indirect costs. What are direct costs? Well, tuition and fees, room and board. The majority of them are basically going to be indirect costs. They're not to the fact, okay? It's a basic, this student is a freshman living on campus, and they have a meal plan, and they're nursing majors. So they have a set cost of attendance. So I said nursing major because within the nursing major, there's going to be lab fees that they'll factor in to a cost of attendance. All right, maybe some of the schools will add into their whatever the uniform is that nurses wear to do that, then they may add that in. But it's grouped. Everyone knows if you're in this category, this is what your cost of attendance is. And with that cost of attendance in the EFC, that's what determines your need, how much you would be eligible for in financial aid. I'll go back to that one. So, the EFC, we've talked about this and talked about this, but it tells you basically the out-of-pocket based on the information that you put on the FAFSA. This is an example. Family lives in New Jersey. The parents are married, both are 52. Household size of 4, 1 student in college. That would be whatever, if your student is going to college, that's the 1 student. Okay? In 2012, let's not pay attention to 2012 being so far back, but in 2012, the adjusted gross income was $120,000. $20,000 in assets. Student didn't work, didn't make any money, has 0 assets. The estimated family contribution, roughly $20,830. And that's the EFC that the school is going to use. They're going to look at the cost of attendance, minus the estimated family contribution and determine how much the need is. And whatever that need is, that's how the financial aid gets factored, gets determined. I'm coming right to you, okay? So, the financial aid need for the Smith family. Their cost of attendance. Now, cost of attendance, that, remember I said that will change. It changes based on the program. It changes based on the sector of college that the student attends. So a 2-year college, of course, will have a separate cost of attendance from a state college or a private university. Whether a student is full-time or part-time, that changes the cost of attendance. But do you notice the EFC stays the same? The EFC travels with you. No matter if it's a 2-year college, a public, a private, that EFC will stay the same. It's the cost of attendance that will essentially determine your financial need. So with these figures, the student has no financial need for a community college. So there's no financial aid, okay, based on that EFC. Now, when you're moving towards the 4-year college, the cost of attendance is higher, the need stays the same. The EFC stays the same, which gives room for need. So you want cost of attendance minus the EFC. That's what determines the need. And that's how the financial aid will determine how much the student is eligible for in financial aid. You notice with a private college, you see how major the jump was. So there's a higher financial need for the private college opposed to the community college. They're trying to make every award letter, financial aid award letter, standard so that there's nothing hidden. Students, families can look at one financial aid award letter, compare it to another without anything hidden. You can just look at them and compare. So this is what they call the shopping sheet. So they're going to tell you the grants taken out. What's your monthly payment? If you're going to have a monthly payment, what's that? How much you're eligible for in loans. So you can see it at one place. If school A has it here, then school B will have it here. So they're developing that. The FAFSA is a free application. Okay? So never pay for a FAFSA. And there's no need to pay anyone else to do your FAFSA. It's online when you click. Let's just say the FAFSA is going to ask you for adjusted gross income. When you write on the FAFSA, you completed a form 1040. When you click into that space, the computer is going to tell you line 37 on a 1040. That's where you'll find your adjusted gross income. Okay? It will tell you if you want to know your wages. It'll say, okay, 1040, add line 7, your wages. If there's anything on 12, which is business income, add those together. If there's no business income, then just line 7. You see, so it'll tell you where to go to get the information. And if you do the IRS data retrieval, you won't have to worry about adjusted gross income, okay? You'll just have to worry about the IRS data retrieval. You have to put your own wages. It will not determine the wages for you. But like I said, 7 plus 12, whatever the wages are, it's all there for you. It may seem like it takes a little while, but you'll get the hang of it. But there's nothing on the FAFSA that each individual cannot do, even if it's the first time. And you can also, New Jersey, we come out, just like tonight, we came out to do the presentation, this financial aid presentation. There's also College Goal Sundays where each county has them to help families complete the FAFSA forms. Some schools will ask a representative from HESA to come out and do a financial aid workshop, completing the financial aid. So there are resources out there to complete the financial aid. The guidance offices, sometimes, there's little questions that you can ask. Schools can always call us. Students, families can always call us. Our website, you can go on the www.hesaa.org, or you can call our customer care line. That's 609-584-4480. We have trained staff that can help you answer your questions, or you can go directly to the feds. The cycle of financial aid. Okay. Remember, October 1st, the CSS profile is coming out. So you want to start doing that October 1st to complete your CSS profile. So you're going to complete that. You're doing your college search to make sure that you're narrowing everything down. January 1, the FAFSA comes out. You're going to complete that as soon as you can. Between January and March, completing the FAFSA. March to May, schools are going to start sending out the award letters. The schools that you've already handed in applications for, the schools that you've put on your FAFSA, because the schools won't know what you're eligible for unless they're a school listed on the FAFSA. Hey, so you list 10 schools or you list 5 schools, but the school that you want to go to now, where you want to know how much your financial aid package is, you can always go back onto your FAFSA. You can delete schools, you can add schools. So you're not locked in to the schools that you initially put on your FAFSA. You just got to keep up with it, okay? And then when the schools start sending the award letters, expect the school to start sending the bills to you. All right? So you really need to know what school you're going to start going to. Where do you go from here? Find out whether or not you have to complete. Well, you should have started completing them. But the CSS profiles, you need to really make sure that you're completing your FAFSA forms. And look at the school's deadlines. Each school, remember, has a FAFSA deadline. You have to make sure that you find out. You have to file your FAFSA by the earliest deadline. So there could be 4 schools where the deadline is March 15. But if there's one school, February 15, you want to complete your FAFSA by February 15. If you have not completed your income tax returns, complete your FAFSA with estimated. Okay, you want to make sure that it's submitted, that you're using that FSA ID to sign the FAFSA. It has to actually be submitted. It has to be signed for it to actually meet the deadlines. For New Jersey funds, New Jersey has FAFSA deadlines as well. Incoming students. If you're an incoming student, then October 1st, only for that first income, is the FAFSA filing deadline. After that is June 1st. So if you miss the deadlines, there's absolutely no money. Okay, so even if you would have been qualified, if you miss the deadline, there's nothing. There's nothing there for you. What are some of the other resources? Remember, you have the outside scholarships. Has anyone started looking at any of those? Military, the families in the military, the Elks, a lot of sororities, my sorority, yearly we have scholarships. Once, you know, so you can find out that churches, they have scholarships, you know, depending. Some churches have scholarships. So, you know, just look around, see. Ask, maybe there's some friends of someone that you know that's already in school maybe or going where they found out about a scholarship. I always say, even if a student, if they fear writing an essay, then have a teacher look at it with them when they write it. That student can give the best essay, even if it's not the top ranked essay, but it could be the top ranked essay for the submissions. Okay, so never let the essay stop you from completing. And if I want money, I'm not paying to see if I get it. So I'm not paying to look for any scholarships. Okay, to try to be approved for a scholarship, I'm not paying. I need money from you. I don't have the money to pay just to see. Campus employment, that's the work study that I talked about. So find out if you're eligible for work study, which will be determined with your financial aid. Then the student will go to a work study advisor within the financial aid office and try to pick a job on campus. Hopefully a job that's within their major or anything like that. And a lot of people in financial aid, we were work studies in the financial aid office. You know, so that's how you learn, and then you just stick with it. And plus, working for the university, I had my education paid, but that's a whole nother story. So yes, just look into things. At a certain point, a student may be able to be a residential advisor, a RA. You know, so there's different things that you can look at to try to fill in the gaps. Here are some websites for private scholarships. I have them listed. There's some listed in the pamphlets that I have for you. Let me know when I can flip. Okay, I see a light back there. Okay, I heard that. NJ Best College Savings Plan. This is a Franklin Templeton College Savings Plan. Most states have one. So New Jersey, there's a scholarship, a one-time scholarship that will go along if you open up your 529 plan in New Jersey with Franklin Templeton. Okay? There, the NJ Best, the scholarships, if you open it in New Jersey, can range from $500 to $1,500 is a one-time payment. And that's based on how long the plan has been open and how much is actually in the plan. The scholarship comes from HESA, is New Jersey money that pays that $500 to $1,500 scholarship. And some of HESA's services, like I said, we have the New Jersey grants. So New Jersey grants, we have our own website for that. New Jersey class, if you're interested in the New Jersey class loan, we have a website for that. But you can get to both of these by going directly to the homepage, www.hesa.org. I already pointed out our customer care line for that. Now's the time for questions. Hopefully I answered them already. Yes?
You said one of the most commonly mistakes made was the number of people in the household?
Yes.
And then the second part of that was number of children in college.
Correct.
This is your first child applying to college. The correct answer is 0.
One.
It is 1.
You have to count the student as a member going to college.
The New Jersey grants for the state, are they only for the public schools, or are they for public and private?
Public and private, 2-year, 4-year. For TAG grant, you have to be full-time at a 4-year institution. I'm sorry, someone over here.
What if your child is definitely going out of state? Are there any specific scholarships they can apply for? I know like New Jersey scholarships are for New Jersey schools only, but if you're traveling out of state, is there something else that they can apply for?
That would be
Private scholarship?
yeah, some type of private scholarship. Yes. Yes.
You mentioned the FAFSA asks about assets and income. Is there any place where it asks for expenses, for instance, a large medical expenses, the bills?
Did you guys hear the question? The FAFSA, it asks for assets, it asks for cash and savings. Is there anywhere on the FAFSA where the federal government asks you, what are your expenses? No. But if you have a huge number of medical bills, then that can be factored in.
And is there, well, I mean, there's not to go into detail, but
How would you
there's no telling what the future, I mean, there's past medical bills and possible ongoing, and there's no.
The FAFSA is filed on a yearly basis,
Oh, okay.
so it's based on a yearly figure. Yes.
So thinking about the timeline that you showed in terms of like times to apply, if you have a child who's applying either early action or early decision, do you do the FAFSA before that happens, or do you still wait until January? It seems to...
You have to wait until January because it only comes out January 1st.
Okay.
So yes, you're going in that blind.
So there's nothing you can do to sort of get a sense of what you're likely going to be paying.
Do they have like a practice sheet or something?
There's www.FAFSA forecaster, okay, that can give you an idea of what it would be. But just remember, these are all ideas. Don't take it to the bank.
But with the CSS profile, so let's hypothetically say one of the schools, let's say the school is on the CSS profile, would that would give you some sense, I would imagine.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It'll give you some sense in terms of what the school is going to give you. Yes.
What's the maximum number of the New Jersey class loan that students can take out a year?
Cost of attendance. Any loans, financial aid, you cannot go past your cost of attendance. So even if you wanted to take out a private loan, the private loan you can only take if a cost of attendance is $50,000, but you still believe you need additional monies, you cannot take that out for educational purposes.
But the student can take out the full amount of the school.
I'm sorry?
The New Jersey class, that's when the student takes out the loan.
Yes.
And it can be for the full amount if they want it.
Oh, yes. The question was, can a student, a family, if the school costs $50,000, can they take out a $50,000 loan with New Jersey class? Because you did specifically ask me about New Jersey class. No, it could be New Jersey class, any other private loan. But remember, the federal direct loans, no, there's a limit, an annual limit.
The $5,500 in Stafford loans, is that up to the schools whether the students can qualify to take that loan or not?
Well, no, it's the school, the student has to complete the FAFSA. The student has to be going towards a degree. The student has to make, going in, there's no such thing as academic satisfactory progress. so they won't know. But moving on within the schools, the student has to make SAP, satisfactory academic progress. So they have to move along in their track, and they have to maintain a certain GPA average. And that's to be eligible for any financial aid. Okay? So if they meet the requirements, then yes, that's for all. That's not up to the particular institution.
And
The only way that would be is if the school has something set up in their policies where they can put a student on a one-time probationary period.
And do you know if that applies to out-of-state schools as well? Like, would they be eligible for that as an out-of-state school?
Oh, yes, because federal money is federal and is regulated.
So, if you fill out the CSS profile, does it also give you some kind of a EFC number?
No, the CSS profile is not determining your EFC.
Okay. And then the next question is that you discussed about the, family with 120K.
Yes, the Smith family.
Yeah. So, for the private colleges, like, you determined 20K was a, EFC, and the balance was 25K for the private college, which has to be arranged in some form of fund. So, like, what is the likelihood that there will be some kind of grant available for the 25K to be entirely funded through the loan?
That's a difficult question to ask. Out of the Smith family, if they went to the private college, what's the likelihood out of the $25,000 need that the student would be eligible for funds? Yeah, the higher the EFC, the less likely. Okay, so with financial aid, you want to be needy. It's not a bad thing to be needy. So a 0 EFC, you're at the most eligible. And then as you move up with your EFC, you become less and less eligible for federal loans. New Jersey, the state will look at, they'll take the EFC and then factor in, remember I said those additional state questions, and we'll come up with, because we have our own formula, we'll come up with the New Jersey Eligibility Index. So we're not going by an EFC per se, all right, because we're asking additional questions. Yes? I'm sorry, did that answer that question?
Yeah, it's some fashion it did. So, like, for the same family, what would be the eligibility index for New Jersey? Like, do you know what the number would be?
No. No, but odds are that the student wouldn't be ineligible. But I'm not going to say the student would definitely not be eligible, because it is very important for whether you believe you would be eligible or not, complete your FAFSAs to find out. Don't miss out on money simply because you believe you make too much. And remember, you have to complete the FAFSA for some institutional scholarships, and if by chance a student needs the federal direct loan, or even private loans. Okay, requirements are for you to complete the FAFSA form. Wait, I'm sorry, yes?
And the FAFSA will affect your assets, including what's in your bank account. But does it take into account your 401k and if any Roth money that you have for future retirement?
That's gonna be, yes, that's on the FAFSA, but it's untaxed. It's going to ask for untaxed amounts.
Okay, so.
Right, so it's not going to ask you about tax, because that's figured out within your income tax returns.
So it separates that.
Wait 1 second.
Quick question, the New Jersey class loan, is that need-based or is that available to?
It's not need-based.
It's not.
It's whether or not you meet the requirements, income requirements, and credit score. And that's going to be for private loans.
Okay. And the data retrieval tool, if you complete your FAFSA on January 1, the data retrieval tool is a moot point because you won't have completed your taxes.
Correct.
With your W-2s. So the data retrieval tool is only used for individuals
Who's
filing
already,
the FAFSA, I guess,
and it's in the
February
system.
or wherever. Correct.
Yes, your income tax returns has to
Has
be
to
processed.
already processed.
Right, but when you go back to put in the actuals, you can use it to put in the actuals.
Yes, once you use your estimated, then when you go into correct, you can use the data retrieval tool. Hold on. Did you still have a question?
It was answered.
Okay. Here first.
So back to the asset, so the house isn't considered an asset on the...
No, only rental properties.
Is it for the CSS? Do they?
Yes.
So how are you supposed to sort of estimate what your house is worth?
Oh, okay, you have your property assessment, and you have how much unpaid mortgage, and that determines your assets.
Your property assessment?
Yes,
Okay. Because usually they're like not even supposed to.
yes.
How about prioritizing the list of schools and whether that, I read an article that that's no longer sent to the schools as information as to what other 10 schools you may be applying to. Do you know if that's relevant with the filing of the 2016 FAFSA?
The schools are getting, they're getting saying you're going to that school. That's it. They can't see the other schools that you're sending it to. So every school you put down on that FAFSA, they're going to receive your FAFSA information. The difference with the state is, yeah, we see the list of schools, but we're only going to look at that first school choice. And it's New Jersey money, so we're only looking at that New Jersey school, which has to be listed as your first choice in order for us to determine whether or not you're eligible for New Jersey money. Yes.
So when you're listing the colleges and you have more than one student in college, you have a total of 10 or 10 for each student?
Each student has to complete a FAFSA form. So it's 10 and 10.
Okay.
How do they figure out the 529 funding?
I'm sorry?
How do they figure out the 529 funding?
The 529, Franklin Temple 529. Mhm. How much do they,
How do they
to receive the scholarship?
No, how do they stagger the funding? If you have 529, how do they take the money?
Oh, that's a Franklin Temple. The 529?
What you're asking is if you already have a 529 in place for your children, and just say for easy math, you have $8,000 in it to support your school, do they assume you're going to take $2,000 a year out of that 529 for the education, or that you're going to deplete your 529?
Yeah, you deplete it.
In year one.
No, depending on how much you have in it.
I read last night that it's like very little for the 529. The person might have money in a custodial account, and they expect you to give 20% every year of that custodial account. But it's better for the 529. It's only like 5 years.
Yeah, that's a Franklin Temple study.
For those of you still here, I don't know if you know this or not, but our guidance department puts out a scholarship bulletin every 6 weeks or so, and there's lots of money out there. It's available on Naviance, the site that everybody has an account with, or you can come down and get a hard copy of that, okay?